What's up, guys? It is Trevor the Great here again with another battle report coming at you. This time we're going to do Legion versus Cygnar. But before we get started, I just want to talk a little bit about what's been going on. Obviously, I haven't been making many videos lately, and that is because I've been pretty busy with real-life, boring stuff, and some outside projects outside my YouTube channel that I've been working on lately that are very cool. The coolest one is called Warmachine. It's a Warmachine Hordes live stream show that airs every Monday afternoon at 7 p.m. EST, Eastern Standard Time. We take two players from the New England meta, and they bring a steamroller pairing to the show. So that's two lists, character restricted, and all that jazz. And then we have them fight to the death, so they get to choose their list, whichever list they want to take, after they see their opponent's lists and the scenario we're playing. And we'll do a little interview with each player at the beginning of the show to just talk about their list, the list selection, and whatever strategies they're going to use using that list. So it's all very exciting. So you can tune into that at twitch.tv/warmachine on Monday nights. We also have a Facebook page, facebook.com/warmachine, and a Twitter feed, twitter.com/warmachine. I will have links to all those in the bottom of the video right now if you want to take a look. But that's very exciting. I've also been playing tons of Warmachine, which is super cool. I don't know if you follow my blog, but if you do, you will see that I played at TempleCon. I took third in the Masters event there. I played at Adepticon and took second in the Iron Gauntlet finals there, which actually did qualify me for the Iron Gauntlet finals at Lock and Load, but because of school issues, I wasn't able to attend that, unfortunately, and rep the Swans. But I did play at Captain Con recently, and I took second in the Masters event there. So playing a lot of Warmachine, and it's been super fun. But now I'm going to try to get back onto the video bandwagon and record some more videos and put them out to you guys. Right now, the plan's going to be that I'm going to stop releasing the raw footage for my videos because it takes a lot of time to edit those and a lot of processing power from my little tiny computer. So I can produce more videos more quickly if I just do the voiceover versions, which a lot of people said they liked better anyway. So that's what I'm going to start doing starting now. That will also allow me to spend more time on each video, so hopefully I can up the production quality a little bit, make them look a little bit nicer. So if you guys have any suggestions for me, I'm in the process of getting some newer equipment to make it easier to record battle reports, so we're going to see how that goes. And let me know how you like any changes I'm making, and you know, all that. Stay in touch. It'll be great. Anyway, let's get on to this battle report. This is going to be Legion versus Cygnar. Lylyth, Shadow of Everblight, that's Epic Lylyth, versus Major Victoria Haley2. I'm obviously playing Haley because she's awesome. This is a list that I have not played very much with yet, but I've been playing around with it a little bit. Another local player, Ben Court, expounded on the virtues of this list archetype for Haley, and how it beats a lot of hard matchups, a lot of bricks and things like that. That a lot of normal Haley2 lists, Haley2 and Stormwalls, tend to have problems with. So my version of this list is Haley2 with a bonded Stormwall. Bonded for obvious reasons, mainly for focus and +2 movement. It's pretty good. I have Thorn in there, which is the big difference between this list and a lot of other lists. It allows that Stormwall to get a lot of work done over the game, because Haley can bring those control spells she has to bear to keep enemy heavies away and keep the Stormwall from being damaged early. And Thorn is also just kind of a pain in the ass to kill if he gets into a zone or something and your opponent doesn't have a lot of heavy hitters to deal with him. He is defense 15 effectively against charges, armor 18, 21 if you arcane shield him, and he's just a great model. He also threats really far, 13 inches without any help, I think, 14 inches without any help, but she can obviously telekinesis him and temporal accelerate him, and he can get to weird places. So other supporting these warjacks in the list is a Squire, a unit of Arcane Tempest Gunmage Pistoliers with their unit attachment, the Gunmage Officer, for some infantry clearing. A unit of Stormblade Infantry, which is not a very commonly seen unit in a lot of lists, but I love them with Epic Haley. Deceleration and defeat let them get up the board and get that significant amount of damage that they can bring to bear into enemy models. And also Deadeye helps their guns a lot, and if you're playing this list in a Legion matchup or a Circle matchup, something with a lot of lightly armored war beasts, that are very high defense. Deadeye and those guns can actually just take out war beasts at range without needing to get into melee. So that's great. I also have Rupert Carvolo to buff those Stormblades and give him a little more defense, as well as Pathfinder when I need it. Lylyth2, mainly to shoot off offensive upkeeps on my Stormwall or my Stormblades, but she can also be in there to shoot off annoying defensive buffs. And then last but not least, the ubiquitous Journeyman Warcaster to cast Arcane Shield and hide in the back of the table for the rest of the game. My opponent's bringing today Lylyth2, as I said. He has a pretty standard Lylyth2 list with 2 Ravagors and 2 Bolt Throwers. I don't see a lot of Bolt Throwers in the Lylyth lists, and that blows my mind, actually, because they are incredible. They are almost half the cost of a Ravagor, and just about the same damage output. They don't have the AoE or the Scalar or the Fire, and they aren't as great in melee once you get there. But they do not have a typed attack, so they can shoot things like Gormandy Wolf that are normally immune to the Ravagor's shooting. And they also have Thunderbolt, which is a great random scenario piece. Critical knockdown's awesome. And they're just great. They're great little war beasts. In addition, my opponent has a Naga Nightlurker in order to punch through those spells, which is going to be very relevant in this matchup because Haley has theoretically 5 armor to one thing between Deceleration and Arcane Shield. So Naga's going to be able to get right through that without any problem. And then Lylyth has a Succubus as a little bit of Fury management. The Succubus can give out a free Animus, which lets the war beast run a little cooler and Lylyth keep more of her Fury on her. She is only a 5 Fury, and she's going to be upkeeping Shadow Pact the entire time, so that free upkeep is also incredibly useful. Supporting that, there's the unit of Rangers, Strider Rangers, plus the unit attachment, just to skirmish up front a little bit. 2 Strider Deathstalkers, 2 Shepherds, and a Feral Geist. I do like the Feral Geist in this list. It adds a little bit of scenario presence if your opponent does not have magic attacks, because it can just run up to a flag and contest it and require the enemy Warcaster or Warlock to designate a large amount of resources to take out a 1-point stupid model. They can also randomly be like laser point sites for Scalar templates. You can just run a Feral Geist up wherever you need a Scalar template and shoot it in the back, and the Feral Geist doesn't die unless you for some reason Wraithbane your Ravagor. But there's now a Scalar template in the way, so enemy troops trying to get through that are going to be taking damage and potentially being dead if they're only 1 wounded in 2 battles. So that's pretty good. I do like Feral Geist a lot, so it's cool to see one. And then with a stealth battle group, another 1-point filler like a Swamp Gobbers are not going to do too much. They're just going to be targeted and dead. So pretty interesting. I do like the list, and let's see how it plays. The scenario today is SR 2014 Close Quarters. In that scenario, there are 2 flags, one towards each player's table edge. Each flag can be dominated. The one closer to your table edge can be dominated for 1 point. The enemy can be dominated for 2. And the enemy flag can be controlled for 1 point as well. 5 points to win, and there is a kill box in effect. So Warcasters that end the turn more than 14 inches total away from the board edge will net their opponent 2 victory points, 2 control points. So that's pretty bad. Don't do that. The kill box is actually pretty interesting for this matchup because neither Haley nor Lylyth wants to see a kill box particularly. Lylyth has such a long range, she doesn't really want to be in the kill box, and Haley doesn't want to be shot to death. So I think it'll be a very interesting matchup, and let's see how it goes. Alright, here we are in deployment. My opponent won the roll to go first and decided to take the first turn, which gave me the choice of side, and obviously there's a side with a wall right around where Haley wants to sit. So that's the side I'm going to choose. My opponent's deploying a little bit centrally, nothing too surprising here. 2 Ravagors and Lylyth in the middle, a Bolt Thrower on each side, and the Naga closest to the camera. I wasn't really sure how to play this matchup in this game, but I think I misplayed it a little bit in my deployment. The way this matchup should go for Haley, anyway, for this particular list, at least for the Stormwall, is that if the Legion player goes first, they're going to be forced to move up because of that kill box and because they need to be relevant in scenario, otherwise Haley will trivially win. So what the Haley player can do is jam their Stormwall very far forward on their first turn, to the bottom of 1. The Stormwall can run between Temporal Acceleration and the Bond 14 inches, and then Haley can charge TK potentially in feet and hit as many Ravagors and those big beasts as possible, so that they are going to have to activate before Lylyth, so they won't get the benefit of the feet if she just does decide feet. So that'll keep your storm wall safe for that turn, and then he can jam in another 14-inch charge the next turn and start killing Legion Warbeast, which is not what Lylyth wants to see. That threat range is pretty ridiculous. Just finishing up deployment here. The Rangers deployed opposite on the far flank away from the Pistoliers, because with Deadeye, those gun ranges are just going to whip right through them. They're also behind this forest, which is kind of annoying because they do have stealth, and my gun ranges do have true sight, but that doesn't mean that I can see all the way through the forest. So I won't be able to shoot the ones that are behind the forest, so he can keep his unit detachment safe that way. So what I ended up doing was planning to keep the storm wall back until Lylyth had been forced to feed on my infantry and then move it forward in the late game. But I realized that moving it more aggressively early was probably going to be a far better play. So that was a misplay on my part, and we'll see if I can just... I'm going to end up having to just tank through Lylyth's feet and come back swinging, but I don't think I needed to do that particularly. Here's Lylyth's battle group moving up. She advanced cast Shadow Pack and a Wraithbane, or a Dragon's Fire on one of the Ravagors, but ended up just running with that Ravagor. She just did it to drop 3. And then the Warbeasts running up to take cover behind that forest. Again, my gun mages aren't going to be able to see through the forest, even though they can see through the stealth, which makes it a little bit annoying with the Feral Guy from the Shepherd behind that forest, as well as the Ravagor. And then the Rangers on the other side. You can see the Naga there next to that building, closest to the camera. That model is going to be incredibly important for this game because of the spell defense that Haley can put out against shooting, and the Naga can just get right through that. So priority number 1 is to kill that guy, because as soon as I can kill him, Lylyth's chances of killing my storm wall are incredibly slim. So I decided I was going to feat this turn, so Iris moved up, took a shot at a Strider Deathstalker, a little bit off camera there, and missed the attack. Then Thorn advanced up, or ran up. Haley took an Arcane Bolt out of Strider and missed even through the reroll, and then feated and charged up, and there's Thorn reaction driving to engage more of the Striders to stop them from shooting at my troops. Arcane Shield going down in the Stormblade infantry to keep them safe from those Strider shots and any blast damage that's going to hit them early. And then they are just moving up and spreading out to stay away from Ravagor fire templates. And then making sure not to get in front of that storm wall, because that could have been super bad. And there's the storm wall moving up. It did not go as far as it could have. It only went about 10 and a little bit inches because of the wall and the storm blades. So if I had been able to tempo accelerate and run it, its full 14 after deploying it at the edge, it would have been another about 6 inches off the board, I think, which would have been a significant problem for Lylyth, because I don't think those Ravagors can get out of its threat range that way. Haley's feed going down. I'm activating the Shepherds first. That is a pro tip for anybody playing against those Fury Management solos. If you activate the Fury Management first, the Warbeasts aren't going to be able to force as much before they take a Fury off. So they're going to either run Hunt next turn or be forced to not spend as much Fury as they want to and not have a particularly effective turn on your feet turn. So we're activating the Ravagors. They ended up just moving backwards out of threat range. And then because Thorn's there, I can potentially TK them forward and get a significant amount of threat range on them with the Stormblades. And if I can kill his models with Stormblades before the Storm Wall has to go in, that is incredibly beneficial to me. So the Ravagors moved backwards. The Rangers are going. Some of them are advancing, some of them are just standing still and shooting their bows, trying to take out some Stormblades and block, potentially block Thorn's range to that Naga. I think my opponent sees that that Thorn's going to be going there next turn, so he's moving models in the way to make it difficult for me. And then a CRA going into a Stormblade infantry, but through D-Cell and Arcane Shield, they're defense 14, armor 20, so they are not going to be taking much damage from those little tiny bow shots. Alright, so that was the end of my feat turn. All models in my feat have activated, so now my opponent's just advancing his solos. My Deathstalker's going to move around to get in the way of the Pistoliers, and he's trying to take some shots, but because of that defense 14, or defense 17 because of D-Cell, he's not going to be able to hit very well. Lylyth moving up into the kill box. Not a place she particularly wants to be because she doesn't have a lot of fury, but Shadow Pack's going to help a little bit. I won't be able to just gun her down with the Storm Wall. So she's just moving up, taking some pot shots, and casting Pincushion on the Stormblade Infantry. I think my opponent was expecting to be able to get some shots into them on the next turn, and Pincushion being hot swapped between them and the Storm Wall for the Rangers being able to get some shots would have been very beneficial. But in the next turn, I think he just decides to drop it and hit it on the Storm Wall initially. Repositioning of the solos behind the forest. That Feralgeist is going to be annoying to contest the flag in the later game, so he's trying to keep him safe behind that forest so the Pistoliers can't get at him. So, turn goes back to me. This turn I'm going to try to get Thorn into that Naga Night Lurker. If I can take out the Naga, it's a little bit dicey. Thorn needs 6s to hit, and the dice -2. But if I get some good dice, Thorn can take out that Naga, and that is huge. That means the Storm Wall probably survives the next turn, and then is able to punch tons and tons of heavies to death. So we're putting 3 focus into Thorn, and then I'm going to end up arcane bolting that little in front of me out of the way. First, the Pistoliers are going and trying to get some pot shots off. I don't have enough resources to Deadeye them because I do need to keep deceleration up to force Lylyth to spend those resources casting Wraithbane. So the Pistoliers just took some shots, taking some shots without Deadeye, trying to roll some 8s. One of them aimed and was able to take the Deathstalker on the far side of the table out, and then I think one of them hits a Ranger over here with a gunshot. Unfortunately for me, my opponent deploying on the far side away from the Pistoliers makes it difficult to get many shots into them, which is a strong play on my opponent's part. Here are the Stormblade Infantry going in. 2 of them charging into the Strider Ranger that's engaging Thorn, and missing their attacks, but a CMA eventually kills them. Rupert cast, sang the song of Dirge of Mists onto the Stormblade Infantry, and the Striders ended up failing their terror check, which means that they're not going to be a problem next turn, which is a huge deal. That means that Haley is going to be safe from CRAs, so that's big. And then Haley activating, casting Deceleration again, and then just arcane bolting the Ranger in front of Thorn out of the way. Thorn reaction driving up and then advancing into melee range with the Naga and taking a bunch of attacks. I didn't roll particularly well here. I think I missed 2 attacks needing 6s, and my damage rolls weren't spectacular. I did about 10 damage to it, but all in all, that's fine. I was looking for some pretty good dice in order to kill the Naga outright, so not killing it is just fine. And Thorn is up there engaging 2 War Beasts, which is going to be a little bit of a difficulty in my opponent's turn. If he does take 3 strikes, especially with that Naga, Thorn could potentially knock out an aspect. He also took a shield attack onto the Bolt Throw and was able to do a little bit of damage. Arcane Shield getting swapped onto the Storm Wall, and the Storm Wall advancing up. I'm just hoping that the Storm Wall won't die in the next turn. And if it does, my opponent will probably be forced to move up because of the kill box and scenario pressure into the range of those Stormblade Infantry. So worst comes to worst, I'm still going to be able to get a little bit of damage out onto my opponent, even if he does roll well and take my Storm Wall off the table. Between Gun Mages ignoring stealth and Haley with Thorn's ability to control scenario, even with the Storm Wall dead, if I can just jam my opponent out of the scenario zones, I think I have a pretty solid shot at a scenario win. When Haley starts tanking up with focus, she can dominate her flag, and Thorn can TK, and I can Thunderbolt models off the other flag and score 2 points every turn. We are back to my opponent's turn now. Lylyth is just deciding where she's going to be this turn. It is very important that she gets put in the right spot. Those Gun Mages, if they're dead-eyed, can actually just take her out pretty easily. A little bit of an odd interaction is that Gun Mages have, with True Sight, ignore the stealth rule, which means they ignore all parts of the stealth rule. So that includes the passage that says that ignore models with stealth for line of sight from greater than 5 inches, which means that my opponent can actually block line of sight to Lylyth from the Gun Mages using other War Beasts, and if any of my larger guns, with the Stormwall or the Stormblades, get within 5 inches to shoot Lylyth, they're not going to be ignoring them all in front. So that's actually, even though it doesn't normally block line of sight, that's actually a pretty legitimate tactic in this case, because Lylyth has stealth as well as the War Beasts. So Lylyth casting a Wraithbane out, feeding, casting a pincushion onto the Stormwall. The Naga Nightlurker advanced up a little bit and took a boosted attack roll onto Thorn in an attempt to critical Shadowbind him, but wasn't able to hit the crit and did no damage on the attack. But then he cast Wraithbane on that Bolt Thrower there. He moved up far enough for the Succubus to cast another Wraithbane onto the Ravagore. So now both Ravagores and one of the Bolt Throwers have Wraithbane on them, and they're all taking their 2 shots into the Stormwall. When the dust clears after this turn, one of the Bolt Throwers rolled very well, did a lot of damage. And the Ravagores one of the Ravagores did not roll very well. So my opponent ended up completely crippling my right side and then taking out my superstructure as well. But my left side, Cortex, and movement systems were all nominal. So if the Stormwall doesn't really need to have both fists operational in order to kill Ravagores. So fortunately, my opponent not spiking the dice super hard and taking out the Stormwall is going to work out incredibly well for me. That Stormwall is going to be able to get in there, and I think I'm going to pulverize most of those heavies. Here's the second Bolt Thrower moving up, or the Wraithbane Bolt Thrower, and he actually, lucky on my part, takes a free strike from Thorn, and I roll pretty well and take out his mine. Now he is Wraithbane, but he does need a 5 to hit the Stormwall, which means on 1 die or 2 dice dropped below it, he doesn't need to roll a 5, which is absolutely not guaranteed. I think he ends up missing 1 attack and only getting one through, which helps me a lot as well. Thorn's random attack with his shield that rolled well on my turn ended up helping me a lot in this case. So that's a lesson to you. If you have attacks, make them, even if they're crappy. Every once in a while the dice come out in your favor, and you're able to get a little bit of extra damage on an opponent's model that you wouldn't have normally. Last but not least, the Shepherd's moving up and clearing some of that Fury, so the next turn's not going to be super hot. The Rangers also ran away from the Stormblade, but they did pass their command check and rallied. So now this turn's going to be a big turn. I'm going to be able to get most of my models into melee. The Stormblade infantry are right up next to those Ravagores there. So I'm putting 4 focus onto the Stormwall, 3 focus onto Thorn. I'm going to try to finish that Naga off, so my opponent's late game shots into the Stormwall aren't going to be nearly as effective. Upkeeping Arcane Shield, Haley camping some for deceleration, and just sitting back behind that wall. The Pistoliers shooting, a couple of them had to move up to shoot at the Rangers because the Rangers had run out of aiming range and dealing no damage, I believe. Rupert advancing, putting Heroic Call onto the Stormblade Infantry, and the Stormblade Infantry clearing out of the way to get to allow the Stormwall through. Receiving an Assault Order and getting on in there. I think I'm able to put 3 Stormblades onto each of the Ravagores in front there, and then 1 onto the Bolt Thrower in the center, right in front of Lylyth. And then 2 onto the Bolt Thrower next to Thorn. And the Officer with that awesome Command 10 running into the center of the unit to give everyone command. And unfortunately, I don't roll particularly well. I miss all but 1 assault shot onto Ravagores, needing 6s, and then both of my melee attacks into the Bolt Thrower. He had taken so much damage, I think if those 2 attacks had hit, again needing 6s I believe, or 5s, that would have taken him out. But here the Stormblade Infantry going in. The melee attacks I do hit roll very well, and I'm able to take out the far Ravagore. He's inhabited by the Feral Geist, so he's left alive, and my last melee attack is able to kill him, so the Feral Geist pops out again. There's Thorn going, using all of his focus to kill off that pesky Naga Nightlurker, and then taking an attack into the Bolt Thrower to do a little bit more damage. But that is pretty good for me. Thorn after 2 turns taking out that Naga, which means that my opponent's not going to be able to ignore my deceleration or my Arcane Shield. So that's going to be huge. I don't think he's going to be able to take out the Stormwall at this point at armor 24, especially with ranged attacks. Stormwall going into the last Ravagore there, making a bunch of attacks, ends up killing it, and then is inhabited by the Feral Geist. And then I'm making the remainder of my attacks onto the Bolt Thrower. I hit one of them, or I hit both of them. Both of the attacks I made on the Bolt Thrower needing 7s. And one Electro Leap goes back over to the Ravagore because those models were base to base and my Stormblades aren't. And ends up taking out its mind. Because the Feral Geist only heals 1 box in each aspect, all I need to do is 1 damage to take out an aspect. So his mind is gone, and needing 7s to hit those Stormblades without any ability to force means that my opponent isn't going to be able to kill any of those models, which is pretty solid. Last but not least, Haley going. Casting Deceleration once again. And Iris running back behind the building in order to protect against some late game pursuits that Lylyth wants to put out in order to keep this game rolling. Here's my opponent going. The Shepherd moving up and medicating the Bolt Thrower over there. The Bolt Thrower, I believe, took some attacks onto the Stormblades. Here's the surviving Bolt Thrower next to Lylyth. Oh, the Shepherd next to Lylyth, medicating that Bolt Thrower in the center. I did a little bit of damage. And the Bolt Thrower is going and attempting to take out some of these Stormblades that are jamming them up. Rangers moving up, taking a big CRA into the Stormblade Officer, but however, through deceleration and 5 wounds, he does survive. He is kind of hard to kill, even without Arcane Shield. That's 5 wounds at armor 15, makes him a little bit iffy when you're trying to take attacks on him. Unlike the rest of his unit, which with only 1 wound tend to die to a stick breeze. Quick shout out to those Muson Minis wound counters I'm using at the center there. They are very useful. Not like using dice or something to mark damage, which can be knocked over and changed. These guys are little magnetically attached discs that you can spin, and each one is coded with a number or letter, which you can assign to different models in a unit if you have a multi-wound unit. But I like them a lot. I tend to run a lot of solos in a lot of my lists, so having these little wound tokens everywhere is pretty useful. Here's Lylyth moving up, just trying as a last-ditch effort to take out some of the gun mages. She's moving through the forest, shooting at the closest one. Boosting, needing 9s, kills that one. Takes her Swift Hunter and a Snapfire at a Stormblade. But I think misses. Needing a 6. There's the Bolt Thrower going. He's trying to take out some of those Stormblades in there. He ends up filling up on Fury, and that Ravagore in the center is not in Lylyth's battle group because the Feral Geist is inhabiting him. So, and then here's the other Bolt Thrower taking some attacks onto Thorn and doing a little bit of damage, not a significant amount. So what my opponent's done here is he's filled up his Bolt Thrower in the center, and then his Ravagore is not in his battle group anymore because of the Feral Geist, and his other Bolt Thrower is out of command. So Lylyth is camping 1 or 2 Fury, however she's not going to be able to use that to transfer, so I'm just going to try to end the game here without giving Lylyth the possibility for a janky assassination run in the future, because she can make a lot of attacks with her bow if you give her a chance. So instead of going for a scenario win, I'm putting 4 focus, a temporal acceleration, and a Deadeye onto the Storm Wall through Thorn. The 2 Stormblades ended up killing off the Bolt Thrower there next to Thorn. And then here's the Storm Wall moving, so it can touch that forest and see right through it. Lylyth is not touching the forest. Taking its 1 good gun attack with the Deadeye, boosting to hit, hitting with 4 dice, boosting the damage roll, and then boosting the attack roll and the temporal acceleration shot, boosting the damage roll, and putting Lylyth into the dirt. My opponent... There's the last roll right there. My opponent wondering where he should transfer to, and I told him that he was out of transfer targets. So that is the end of the game there. An interesting game. Both Lylyth and Haley are very powerful casters. Lylyth tends to play a very hard Alpha Strike game, whereas Haley tends to control her opponents a lot more. Neither caster tends to play with a play a game that ends in a long attrition victory that is even for both players, I should say. So this game looked one-sided, but if Lylyth had gotten a significant alpha strike off, it would have looked one-sided the entire opposite direction. So either way this game is going to go, it's going to be very good for one player, I think, through most of the game. And it's determined on deployment and the first and second turn positioning, depending on where that game is going to go, I think. I think it would have been a little bit better for me if I'd put my Stormwall up closer and moved faster. I would not have had to tank the feat as much. I probably still would have, but if the Stormwall can kill a Ravagore before I have to weather that feat, or even a Bolt Thrower, it's going to significantly reduce the amount of damage I'm going to take. If I can kill 2, that's even better. So I think in the future when I play this matchup, I think I'm going to play it that way, and it works for a lot of different Haley archetypes. You can do it with Stormclads, just feeding early, try to jam that Stormclad up as soon as possible. My first inclination when I'm playing a Haley list with a big heavy hitter like the Stormwall is to feed the turn the Stormwall gets into melee, but in this particular matchup, I think you do need to feed to deliver the Stormwall without getting shot at by Lylyth. So I hope that little tidbit of tactical information helps you guys out, and I hope you enjoyed the battle report. Stay tuned for more battle reports, and remember to check out my blog at wayoftheswan.com, and on this YouTube channel, like, comment, and subscribe, and all that jazz. Thank you for watching.